People hated the Chris Paul trade from day one. Why do the Warriors need an expensive 38-year-old when they already have the GOAT point guard? It's a disaster. Unless he comes off the bench. A steady backup to lead the young guys is perfect for Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody. Plus, it's CP's last real chance to win a ring. But in the saddest player introduction ever, seriously, like compare KD's intro to CP, it's depressing. Chris was asked about taking a reduced role.
You'd be coming off the bench playing with the second unit that's a lot younger than the Warriors of the past have been with JK and Moses. Just what do you think of their depth, their bench players that you might be playing alongside?
You coaching?
No.
Oh, where have we heard a player laugh about coming off the bench before?
How do you feel about coming off the bench? And the second question is...
Who, me?
Oh.
Hey, P, they said I got to come off the bench.
And his career was basically over after that. CP had the chance to do the whatever the team needs thing, but he laughed. Does he not know who the Warriors are? Not only do they have two guards in Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, but those guys know how to win and he doesn't. They lost last year, but the starting lineup was elite. Steph, Klay, Wiggs, Draymond, and Loon were the #1 group by a mile last season. Plus 22.1, second place was plus 13. That's amazing. But this 38-year-old wants to disrupt that? It makes sense because he has never come off the bench before, but Chris Paul has always had a bad reputation in the league. He has beefed with some of his best teammates like Blake Griffin and James Harden. Countless stories about dudes hating CP around the league, like Rajon Rondo and Patrick Beverley. When the Warriors eliminated the Rockets in 2019, the Dubs chanted F Chris Paul as they entered the locker room. This could be another example of CP's attitude causing problems, but there is one reason it could actually work. After the Rockets lost to Golden State in 2019, they traded CP for Russell Westbrook. Houston was so desperate to get off Chris's contract, they traded control of 4 first-round picks. They took 1 more year of salary because Russ was 4 years younger. CP had declined in his mid-30s. It got so bad, people predicted his career was over. So the Thunder sat with Chris that summer with a solution. They compared him to other older guards like Steve Nash and Jason Kidd, who improved with less minutes. So they asked CP to play a maximum of 60 games. He was so offended by that, it lit a fire under his ego. CP dominated that season, became an all-star for the first time in 4 years. He played all but 2 games and led OKC to the playoffs when people predicted they'd be in last place. People doubting CP3 revived his career from the dead, and he led the Suns to the finals the next year. But that was 3 years ago, when Chris Paul was 35. It's been an impressive run since the last time he was disrespected like this, but can he do it again? His obvious fit is running the second unit, being a calming veteran presence for guys like Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody, and it manages his minutes to prevent injury. If CP demands to start, they can always work around it. You just start him, then sub him off early, and make sure he never plays on the court with Steph Curry. But if it goes south, it's another example of how the Warriors management hurt their dynasty. I know hurt is a strong word, they won 4 chips, but how many more could they have won? Back in 2020, Kevin Durant had just left, Klay was injured, and Steph broke his hand early in the season. It led to their worst record since 1953, but it got them the #2 overall pick. The perfect chance to replace KD with a great player to extend the dynasty. At the time, ESPN suggested they look to package the pick for players like Toronto's OG Anunoby, Phoenix's Mikal Bridges, or Atlanta's John Collins. Now, I'm not saying they could have gotten all of those guys, but Steph, Klay, and Draymond needed help. Instead, they cooked up a 2-timeline plan to set up another contender down the road. That almost never works in the NBA. Oh, but Golden State is light years ahead. So they drafted James Wiseman, who didn't fit their timeline or their offense. A total bust that contributed nothing to their 2022 title. But in 2021, they had 2 lottery picks. And we know of at least 2 veterans that were on the trade market. A few months after that draft, the Magic dealt Aaron Gordon to the Nuggets for Gary Harris, RJ Hampton, and a protected 2025 first. And the Raptors traded Norman Powell to the Blazers for just Gary Trent Jr. and Rodney Hood. Both players, Norm Powell and Aaron Gordon, could have been Warriors, but they passed them up for Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody. What did they do for Steph, Clay, and Draymond? Look, I know the young Warriors have a special place in the fans' heart, but can you imagine Aaron Gordon on that team? Instead of helping Denver win a chip, he would be off the Nuggets and a perfect fit next to Steph Curry. Then, after Draymond punched Jordan Poole, they overpaid Poole, which led to taking on Chris Paul just to get off Poole's bad contract. But the bench thing is actually not the biggest problem. Even Steph Curry just admitted, everyone's talking about the second unit thing. But when I'm off the floor, you have another ball handler in Paul who knows how to play the game and elevate the guys around him. Exactly. It doesn't actually matter who starts. It's who finishes and how CP3 can make his teammates better. Starting is not the issue. It's his history in the playoffs. I'm sorry, healthy or not healthy, we have seen this now for 18 seasons. CP is a smart player, but if you want to win chips, he ain't your guy. Dude has a history of choking in the biggest moment. There are many examples, but he became the first player to blow 4 2-0 leads in a best-of-7 series in 2021. Then he did it again in 2022 when the Mavericks beat them, Luka going off. Is there a chance adding CP is just the latest mistake by this front office? Based on his recent comments about coming off the bench, it could be. But there is one way that they can save this. Chris Paul could begin the year in the starting lineup. He's motivated by disrespect, he'll be fresh from the offseason, so CP could play well. Then, at the trade deadline, they move him for 1 or 2 depth pieces. With that, they could make another run in the playoffs. The last time Golden State had depth with Otto Porter and Nemanja Bjelica, they won the chip. But the first thing they need is to navigate this awkward Chris Paul situation. It'll be the big, distracting storyline at training camp. But hey, maybe the Warriors can use their young guys to win the in-season tournament. Look, a lot of people are hating on the in-season tournament, but I think people just don't understand what it actually is, and they need to understand because the mid-season tournament is coming this next year. So I made a whole video breaking down what the entire thing is all about and why people need to stop hating on it. Check it out.